Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to my hobby blog. Today I'm very excited for this weekly progress report because I ended up reading a lot of books this week. I read 3 books total, and I have a good old stack of movies to talk about. So, first book that I read this week was one by Frank Herbert. This was a book that I was talking about reading last week in the last report, where I was talking about how before I wanted to get back into Wars of Light and Shadow, I really wanted to read like a short book because Wars of Light and Shadow is a very complicated, nuanced, complex, really hard book to read. I'm sorry. And so I was kind of like, I just want to read a book that I can finish in a single day, a short book, and I ended up choosing The God Makers by Frank Herbert. And I absolutely enjoyed reading this book. It has a lot of really fascinating ideas. It's really short, at about 120 pages or 200 pages, 220 pages. And I was really struck by the story of it because it's about a guy who's within this science empire that is sort of like making sure planets are not being rebellious or having rebellious attitudes. So this guy is sent to a planet and he lands on there and discovers that the people worship like a god people who are able to exert like a magical force. And I thought a lot about Book of the New Sun while reading this, which was fascinating to me because Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe is one of my favorite series. And it was like I was reading Frank Herbert's version of Book of the New Sun. The main character is very similar to Severian. He takes a very similar pathway, especially in Book of the New Sun, Book 4, which is Citadel of the Artok. Probably one of my favorites of the whole series, but Book 2 and 5 I think are perfect. But I really enjoyed this book. I love the writing of it. It's really easy to read. It's definitely a page turner. I just really enjoyed this book, The God Makers. It's one that I just picked up randomly for $4 from my used bookstore, and I was very happy with this. It was just a really great time. So after reading that, I immediately began Book 2 of Wars of Light and Shadow, which is Ships of Meria. It's only halfway done on this edition because the second half of the section that is not covered, or the side that is covered, that's Book 3, Warhost of Vastmark. And this is a pretty complicated book for me to review because this is a book that just transcends other fantasy books, in my opinion, because the writing is very, as John from Talking Story has said, it's very transportive. And when I'm reading it, I feel like I'm going through an experience unlike other books. It's sort of the same feeling that I got reading Book the New Sun, where I felt like the author was working at a level above our own, like, I guess, brain levels. I don't know. It's really hard to describe because this book, I have the same issues with this book that I had with Book 1, where I felt like the descriptions were way, way too much for me. I really felt like the writing got too complicated for me. I don't look up too many words while I read because I don't want to break up the flow of my reading. But there were a few times where I just had to stop because there were 4 words in a row in a single sentence where I had no idea what she was saying. And I'm really loving the world building of the series. I love the magic system. I love the storylines going on, but I feel like in between every major event that happens, there's so much description that my brain just sort of shuts down and sort of just absorbs the information as best as it could. But I had a really tough time in the middle sections of this book. The final 100 pages, I think, made up for the first 400 pages because it's 507 pages in my edition. And it took me a good week of dedicated reading to finish this, because I finished The Godmakers on Monday, and I started on Tuesday, and I just read straight through. Every day I read just many hours. And as much as I enjoyed this book, there were times where I was questioning whether to continue the series or not, before I got to the final 100 pages. And I was really thinking about this, because I just am having a really hard time sticking to the series. I don't think it's my top 5, but I think what's going on is so fascinating and interesting. And I'm loving the characters of Erathon, Lysaid, Drakkar. I really enjoyed Elira this book. She was really interesting and had some really fun sequences. I'm trying not to give any spoilers, but I really love the naval aspect of this book, especially. And I was talking to a friend about this, but this book especially felt like book 9 of Malazan, which is Dust of Dreams, which is a book that I think is very similar in structure to Dust of Dreams and Ships of Maria, because I was really enjoying this book. I love book 1. I thought it was really great. The writing took me back from enjoying it as much as I could have, but I really enjoyed book 1 a lot. Book 2, I struggled a lot. Even though I was enjoying what I was reading, it was just not a fast read. I was reading about 20 pages an hour at most. At my fastest, I was doing maybe 40 pages in an hour. I usually do 50 pages an hour for just your standard prose author, someone not like Jenny Wirtz, who takes a lot of time and skill to craft one of the best prose that I've ever read. It doesn't make for the best reading, though. It's sort of my issue with Walls of Light and Shadow right now, because as with Dust of Dreams, a major portion of that book and this book is setup, getting us prepared for the next sort of progression of the storyline. And I really love the ending to this book. I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. I think this is definitely an 8 out of 10 for me. I don't know how comfortable I am giving this an 8.5, because again, the writing really took me back from enjoying it as much and took me out of immersion, because there were times where I felt like the writing was just too complicated for its own good. It was just, I feel like, because I started the series because I watched Phillips and Critical Dragon's video on this series and watched the stream celebrating the 11th book release. And I definitely understand why they love the series so much more than I am, or seemingly they love it more than me, because they're English professors and they know the craft so much more than I do and are able to read it a lot more easily than I can. I think this is like the premier English professors fantasy series. I feel like any English professor is going to love the series and have this number 1, along with Book the New Sun, in terms of the prose, because the prose is just amazing. I just really love it. But some chapters, it definitely gets in the way of enjoyment, which is hard, because I love when the prose is like this, but not for such a substantial amount of the book. So Robin Hobb is another author who I feel like has transportive prose. But what I love about Robin Hobb is that she doesn't get in the weeds of the prose. When she has to go, and I'm mostly thinking about book 3 of Tawny Man, because that has some of the best prose in the series, in my opinion, of Realm of the Elderlings. And I really loved some of the sequences, especially towards the end of that book, where it felt like it belonged in Walls of Light and Shadow. And the thing I love about Robin Hobb, though, is that she's a lot more focused on the emotional aspects of the series than the prose. And that's something I prefer as a reader. I love this book. I love the world building. I love the battles. I love the writing, but it definitely gets in the way of enjoyment for me. But I'm definitely planning on reading book 3. I haven't given up on the series. I have the first 6 books already in my TBR pile, so I have them. It would be a waste if I just stopped now. But I'm really enjoying this series, but it's really hard to enjoy it deeper than I am now because I guess of my intelligence and being able to read this book. But I would like to think that I'm very well read, and I'm having a really big trouble reading this book. So that's a word of warning for anyone who's curious about the series, because this is something that I think a lot of people say that Malazan is very hard to read, and I disagree with them. I think it's very easy to read because the prose is not that complicated, in my opinion. I think it's the world building and sort of the missing context that makes Malazan so hard, but in terms of actually reading it, it was very easy to read Malazan for me because there was so many cool things happening. And this series is similar in that regard, but again, it's the prose for me. So if you have any more questions about this book, please let me know, because there's a lot to talk about with this book, and I'm not really going to delve into it too much. But I can't wait to start book 3 next month. I'm going to try to do just one book a month for Walls of Light and Shadow, because I don't want to go too fast through it. I want to make sure I absorb all of my feelings and make sure I have the storyline straight, making sure I do my homework in between the books, making sure I don't forget the major developments. But in terms of books that I'll read next, that's really all the books I read. Oh, I also read one more book. I just finished it this morning. It was the audiobook of Danny Trejo's autobiography, and I loved it. I finished it this morning while on my walk, and I was really struck and inspired by his story, because there's so much that I have gone through that he has gone through as well. And with, I'm not going to go into detail, but I was really struck by sort of the similarities of our attitudes towards certain things, and sort of how we broke out of different cycles of abuse, and also cycles of just toxic cycles that we had to break down ourselves and sort of grow beyond. And I really loved hearing his words about that, because as I said in the last week's video, I've always been a huge fan of Danny Trejo. I love almost all the movies that he's been in, and also the TV shows I've seen him in. I really love the sort of his aura around him. Like, he's always seemed like a very good guy. And listening to this book, I definitely feel as if he is one of the best people in the Hollywood business. And I'm really, really glad that I read it, because it really made me appreciate a lot more about him beyond just being an actor, because he's done so much important work for prison reform, and also for drug abusers and helping them get better. And it's just a really great book. It's very inspirational. It's very powerful. It's one of my favorite audiobooks that I've listened to. That's a autobiography. I think Jeanette McCurdy's is one of my favorite as well. The one called I'm Glad That My Mom Died. I think that's the name of it. That was one of the first ones I read of the autobiographies, because Audible always has sales going on for autobiographies, and you can always get them for like $3 to $6. So I've listened to a lot of them. I think the next one I'll listen to is the Chris Frantz one, who is the drummer of Talking Heads. Talking Heads is one of my favorite bands. And I know that he wrote that during COVID, so This was around the time when they did the Stop Making Sense 4K restoration. So there's a lot of stories that I'm looking forward to listening to and kind of getting to know more about the Talking Heads, because I've read David Byrne's Bicycle Diaries, I think last year in March or April. And I really loved that book. It was really interesting to hear David Byrne's travels and sort of his attitudes about traveling and just culture and everything related to that. But he didn't talk about Talking Heads at all. So I am really looking forward to this book because I want to know more about Talking Heads specifically instead of David Byrne bicycling around the world, which sounds amazing, and it made me really jealous of all the experiences that he has gone through. But he definitely deserves it. He is such a talented person. But so in terms of books that I want to read for the next month, the next one I'm going to be reading is going to be John Gwynn's Theory of the Gods. I want to finish this trilogy this month before August because I'm loving this trilogy. I think it's one of my favorite trilogies of recent times. It is such a fun read. It's such a deep and emotional read as well. I love the world building. I love the Viking fantasy aspects. I love the gods. I love the big creatures. I mean, again, every cover has a big creature on it. Book 1 had a big dragon, Leek Rifa. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then Fenrir, the wolf, was on book 2. And then book 3 is Snaka. I think that's how you say it. But I'm loving the series. I am so happy that I picked this up because I read Faithful and the Fallen, book 1, which I think is called Mercy, which is also by John Gwynn, 2, maybe 3 years ago, and I wasn't too hot on it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was good, but I wasn't really drawn to continue. So I ended up slowly collecting this trilogy because I heard a lot of good things about book 1, and it was around book 2 that it really became or showed up on my radar because there was a lot of hype surrounding it. And by the time book 3 came out, everyone was talking about it, which is not a common occurrence for me, that I notice a book like that just seems really cool, and I'm loving it. It's one of my favorites trilogies of recent times, and I'm just so happy that the series that are still coming out that can make me feel this way, because I was not feeling like I would be reading any more fascinating books. I thought I had gone through all the great ones, but I'm very happy to know that I'm still able to find great books. And another book I want to knock out this week, I'm not sure if I will be able to because it's more than 600 pages. It's right around 600. But it's the final Dune book that Frank Herbert wrote. It is Chapter House Dune. I enjoyed book 4 or book 5 a lot, Heretics of Dune. But I was not really that happy with the character work. That was the weakest, in my opinion, of the 5 books that I've read. And book 4, I think, was the best one in terms of character work, so it was quite a contrast for me. But I'm really excited to read the final Frank Herbert Dune book, because after that, then I'm done. This has been a journey that has taken about 6 or 7 years for me, because I first saw the 1980s Dune movie back in college, back in like 2018, 2017, when I was going through all of David Lynch's filmography. I love David Lynch. But I didn't read book 1 until COVID, I believe, and then back in 2020, and then I've just been very slowly reading the series. But I'm very happy with the way that Frank Herbert has done the Dune series for the most part. I feel like he does way too many time skips. I feel like he doesn't spend enough time with individual characters. It's sort of like a ensemble cast that you just sort of have to put your own ideas into in order to fill them out more. I feel like his character work is lacking in a lot of regards. I think book 4 has the best character work because it's such a smaller and more focused story in book 4. But book 5, I love the story, but everything else with the characters was it wasn't enough for me to love the book. But what was I doing? That's it in terms of books. But I'm very excited to get into those two books. I think I'll definitely finish Fury of the Gods this week. I'm not sure about Dune, but I won't be doing my August TBR video until next week when I do my journal. But I'm very excited. But for those who are curious, the rest of the video will be me talking about movies. So if you're not as interested in that, then you can leave now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm very excited with all my reads for this month. I've read a lot of great books. And I think August is shaping up to be even better. So this isn't going to be in order, but this is just sort of some of the movies that I've been watching in the past week. But the first one is a rewatch that was directed by Martin Scorsese. I was doing sort of like a concert night one night this week, and I ended up rewatching this one called The Last Waltz from 1978, same year as Dawn of the Dead. And I really, really love this one. It's like a bluegrass folk concert where Martin Scorsese has been following this band called The Band for a number of years, and it's a folk band that has many different people in it who are wildly popular, and they all each have the mastery in their own instruments. You have a harmonica player, you have a drummer, bassist, keyboardist, an organ player. You have people who play multiple instruments. So you have people playing the guitar and the harmonica at the same time. Bob Dylan is in this video. You have, I'm going to just read off the back. Try and find the list. So you have Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Van Morrison. You have the staple singers. Muddy Waters is in this, who I'm a big fan of. Neil Young is in this as well. I'm a big fan of him. And they all go one by one, like join the band. They play a song. They come off the stage. Someone else will come in with their instrument and the talent. And it's just a really great documentary that focuses on community in terms of music and sort of community building, because a major focus of this documentary is talking with the band, because the band decided to hang up their hats. They decided to retire. They didn't want to do it in the 40s. And so they were like, let's just do one final show. Let's get everyone we've ever worked with and invite them to the show. And it's going to be just a wild night. And after they did that show, then Martin Scorsese did many interviews with each of the band members, some of them in groups, some of them individually, and they would talk about the band and the history and some stories that they have gone through. And it's just a really great documentary. I highly recommend it. I have the 4K of it. The quality is just insane. The audio is near perfect. It's just a fascinating and fun concert documentary. But that is The Last Waltz by Martin Scorsese. It's about 2 hours long, so not too long. And I also watched, before I watched all the concerts, I was just kind of rewatching some of my favorite movies. And one of them is one that I think not many people love, but I think it has its merits. I think the story sucks and that the performances suck, but I love the visuals and also sort of the vibes around the movie. And it also has a lot of fantastic actors in it. But this is Clash of the Titans from 2007, 2008. And this is the one with Sam Worthington in it. I have the 4K Era Video box set. That's limited edition. I love this set. I know not many people like these movies, but I love them. I love the classic fantasy vibes that it has. Medusa's in it. The Kraken is in it. I love the effects in this movie. I think the special effects is one of my favorite in terms of fantasy movies. And I just loved seeing these movies in theaters, so it was really fun to kind of rewatch them in 4K and just sort of enjoy them, because I think more people should enjoy these movies than people do, because and I do give them fair credit. I think the acting is awful in this movie. The storylines are not bad or are not good, and I think the pacing is really bad because it's constantly stopping and going, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's really hard to watch. But I think in terms of visuals, it's the best that we have. So sort of have to take it for what it is. But another movie I rewatched that I just deeply love is one from my childhood that I rented a lot in Blockbuster. But it is Tremors with Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, and the rest of the cast, who are all fantastic. I have a poster somewhere around here, over there. But this is also the 4K from Era Video. I love this release. I think I reviewed it when it came out. But it's one of my favorite movies ever. I think it's perfect in terms of its script, in terms of the performances, in terms of the special effects. It's very practical. I love the comedy in it. It is such a funny movie. There's not many movies that make me laugh as much as this movie, Tremors. And also, I just love the community aspect of this movie as well, where everyone has a role to play in surviving the tremors and the graboids, and it's just a perfect movie. I don't know what else to say about Tremors, but I do think it's a perfect movie, and I even like the second one. Not as much as the first one, but I think the second one is equally as fun. I went to that a lot in Blockbuster. And I need to rewatch the sequels, 3 through 5, I believe. I think they made a 6th one, but I can't remember. But yeah. But I also watched, on the same night that I watched all these movies, really, along with the band, I also watched Stop Making Sense, speaking of Talking Heads. This is the concert from 1984 that they did. It was sort of the final ones that they did. That they filmed. Jonathan Demme, who is the director of Silence of the Lambs and a bunch of other random movies, he directed this one. It was his idea. David Byrne thought it was a really exciting idea and accepted, and they basically developed it together. And it's as much of a concert as it is a art piece, because every performance has so many fun moving parts and performances, and also it has such cool on-stage decoration that every song is sort of its own thing. And I really love the way that the band flows through each song and how the camera is tracking each musician, because the camera is on stage and you have multiple people on stage with the cameras following them. There's some really great meta moments throughout this concert where you have David Byrne holding up the microphone to the camera. You have just many... I had a lot of moments go through my head. I don't want to talk about really any of them because it's not relevant. But I just really love Talking Heads, and this concept movie is so important to me in terms of sort of my life and sort of how it has affected me and sort of kept me sort of grounded, because I first saw this way back in COVID, and COVID was a fucking awful time, and I really loved discovering this concept back then because it just really kind of led me into enjoying more softer music and less metal. And as much as I love metal, I still listen to metal every single day. I play the bass. I learn metal songs. So I'm not speaking any ill or bad towards metal. But after only listening to metal since I was 7 or 8 years old, and also whatever pop was going on at the time, Lady Gaga, Black Eyed Peas, I love those especially. But Talking Heads sort of led me to enjoy more slower music and easy listening music. And I just really love the talent that each of the band members have. And I just love the camaraderie that you can see on camera during this concert. And it's just such a great time. I love it. I don't think I think my life would be a whole lot worse if I did not have Talking Heads in it. So I'm very happy that Talking Heads is in it because they're amazing, and it's why I'm gonna read the autobiography next. But the final movies that I want to talk about is all in one set. It's two movies. It was the birthday of Wong Kar-wai a few days ago, I think Thursday. But I wanted to rewatch two of his movies I just deeply love, and it is Chungking Express and also In the Mood for Love. This is the whole box set here that I have from the Criterion Collection. I love Wong Kar-wai. I think he's one of my favorite directors from Asia. And I just love Chungking Express. I love the music of it. I love the performances in it. I love the sort of emotional through line of the movie where you have characters coming in and out of the storyline, seeking romance. And I also really love In the Mood for Love for the same things, and it's why I did a double feature of them on his birthday. But I just really love both of these movies for basically the same reasons, which is the performances, the writing, the on-screen chemistry between all the actors, especially Tony Leung and Maggie Cheung. I just love them both. I think they're very gorgeous people. Both of them, I would definitely sort of that fun question, like if you could have a beer or have dinner with any actor, living or dead, who would it be? Those two would definitely be in my top 5. I would love to talk to them. They're just really amazing. And I've been in so many amazing movies, but these two movies, In the Mood for Love and Chungking Express, are especially some of my favorite movies. And I just love the cinematography as well, because he uses like a low frame rate camera through some of the sequences, where it gives it sort of like this disembodied feeling of sort of your body running without thinking. And these moments happen when people are being chased or they're going through town looking for somebody. And I just really love watching these movies. They're an hour and a half, maybe an hour 40 minutes. So it's really easy to watch. It's just great movies, some of the best out there. And I was really happy to celebrate his birthday because I think he's a director who deserves to be celebrated. And I'm really excited to sort of see his new TV show, because if I recall right, he did make a 10-episode TV show recently that's supposed to be pretty fucking awesome. So I really want to watch it. It's on Blu-ray now, I think. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, but I really want to watch it and sort of see if he still has his touch, because I didn't like the movie 2046 by him, which is like a sequel to In the Mood for Love. But the rest of his movies I love for one reason or the other. And his use of music is just fantastic. I love the needle drops that he has in these movies, and it's something that I think more directors should utilize, because it really informs the scene and sort of gets the viewer in the mood for what's going to happen. I really love the ones in Chungking Express with California Dreamin' by the Mamas and Papas, because Faye Wong just has such a light air to her where like nothing can bother her. And when that song is playing, as she says, she plays it loud enough that she doesn't want to think. She just wants to cook or do whatever that she's doing, dance, break into her boyfriend's apartment, which is really funny scene. So yeah, I just really love these movies, and I want to talk about them a little bit, because I know I don't talk about movies really ever. It's not as fun for me. But okay, so one final movie that I watched this week. I went to the theaters for the first time since, I think this is the first time this year, actually. I went and saw the new Superman movie by James Gunn. I am the first person to say, if anyone is wondering, I do not care for superhero movies really at all. I love the MCU, most of them, as they came out, because I was in middle school, high school. And then I kind of got tired of it for a while. And then Ragnarok came out, Thor Ragnarok, and I really enjoyed that one. It kind of got me excited about the MCU again. And I loved Infinity War and Endgame, but there hasn't really been a good superhero movie since then, or really superhero media in a long time. So I was kind of going in really, I guess, cynically. I am a big James Gunn fan. I have been watching him since he's been around in the Troma days. So Tromeo and Juliet. I know a few of his scripts that he's written. But I've never really followed his works. And I moderately enjoyed the Suicide Squad movie that he did. I felt like a lot of it was a little too silly for me, but I really enjoyed that movie overall. I thought the ending was a little long, but aside from that, I really enjoyed it. So going into the Superman movie, I was kind of like, hey, it's James Gunn. I think he'll be very good. And I ended up sort of loving the movie. This was sort of something that was unexpected to me because I've never really been much of a Superman fan. I haven't enjoyed any of the movies. I haven't seen the originals with Christopher Reeve. So I need to watch those before giving an opinion on those. But all the other ones I've seen. The Zack Snyder ones I thought were utterly shit. I don't like any movies of his really at all. I don't like the characterizations that he had in the Batman movies or Justice League. I thought he was just a really terrible sort of runner of the media. And I thought what Kevin Feige was doing in Marvel was a lot better. But overall, I wasn't really that big of a fan. But I think if James Gunn is going to continue with the direction that he went with Superman, I will be very happy because this movie was just what Superman should have been this whole time, which is Zack Snyder sort of brought in like the real world stuff, which I didn't like at all how he dealt with that. But how James Gunn deals with it in this movie was a lot more interesting to watch and to actually engage with as a viewer. And I really loved the cast of this movie. David Fillion as the Green Lantern. You have the new Superman. I forgot the actor's name, but he was just fantastic. I really, really loved his performance. I thought he was the best Superman I've seen. And Henry Cavill, I think, is a fantastic actor. He keeps getting stuck with all these really awful projects. But I think him as an actor is really good as Superman. But he was completely directed incorrectly. I just did not like those movies. I thought they were fucking awful. But this movie course corrects in my opinion. And I really enjoyed all of the sequences in this movie. And I don't want to go into spoilers, obviously, but I just really loved sort of the way that the storyline flowed. I felt like the pacing was a little too fast at parts, where things just sort of seemed to happen. But overall, I was just very happy with this movie comparing it to what came before. And I really enjoy these sort of more obscure characters as well. And it's obvious that James Gunn does as well because his Suicide Squad movie, that was absolutely my favorite part of that movie, was all of these weird, obscure characters. And I'm a big fan of the actress Isabella Merced. And I think she's fantastic in Last of Us. She was amazing in this movie. But her character was just so much fun. She keeps screeching like an eagle and like attacking people. And it's like so fun. But like this whole movie, like even though there was a lot of real world parallels that was really hard to watch, I really enjoyed that or was really grateful that they actually put those into the movie. Because Superman is supposed to be someone who stands up for good. And it was really nice to sort of see James Gunn bring in the aspects that the movie had and sort of engaged with it and looked at how Superman would respond to this. And his relationship with Lois Lane is also amazing in this movie compared to the ones in Zack Snyder, because Zack Snyder does not know how to write characters, in my opinion. And the way that he writes characters is just so anti-romance, I feel like. Like, Zack Snyder can never write deep material, and all his movies show this way. His best movies are ones that are adaptations, because he is such an amazing cinematographer and has a great eye for what audiences love. And that's why I think 300 and Watchmen were my favorites of his movies, but it's still like 3 out of 5 in my opinion, because the writing is just awful. But this movie, the writing is like on the other side of the spectrum, where the entire movie, you're engaged, you care about the characters, you care about what's going on. There's a lot of really fun sci-fi elements as well in this movie that I just loved. And it's one thing that I was not expecting going in, but it makes total sense when it started happening. Sort of the type of storylines that we see and the type of settings that we see. And I just want to shout out Nicholas Hoult, the actor who plays Lex Luthor, because he's a fantastic actor. I loved him in Nosferatu, and I would really love to see him do more horror movies. But him as Lex Luthor was just perfect, I felt like. Like, he was such a pathetic and just nasty person, and he played that so well, and I just loved it. It was just a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed the dog as well, Krypto. I mean, how can I talk about Superman without talking about Krypto? The dog was just incredible, and I was really upset that for most of the movie, the dog was off screen, and I was really upset by that, but it didn't make that much of a difference. I still really enjoyed the movie. But that's sort of what my thoughts are on Superman. I would love to know what other people think of the movie. Keep it spoiler light, I would say. But yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. I had a really great time sort of talking about these. I really hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Leave comments below, follow, whatever. And thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.